Alright, what's up? Tim Sykes here again with Jack Kellogg. Click some videos below. We're going to link this whole thing. Like we're going step by step, lesson by lesson, so that you can learn from his entire journey. Last video, we talked about some of his recent big wins and recent big losses, but we didn't get into his bag holds. Understand, he's made 12.2 million, right? 12.2 million overall, including the bag holds, including short-term trades, everything. Correct?
Yes, correct.
Just want to make sure.
Yes.
Some people are like, oh, you're not showing your losses. We're always showing our losses. We're always talking about our losses. What happened with you bag holding? How much did you lose? What were the lessons?
Yeah, so it was shortly after the Valet Part 4, I started buying these little OTC stocks and everything that I bought just bid up, going higher. And I was making 1,000% on some names.
Back in 2020 and 2021.
Yeah.
Perspective. That doesn't happen right now.
Doesn't happen anymore.
Okay.
But I was making 1,000% on BANT, HIPH, and many more tickers that I don't even remember.
VPER,
yeah.
AITX, OZSC,
yes,
ENCC.
all of those. And I had small positions, about $10 or $20,000, and I was making, it was crazy, $50,000 to $100,000 on 10 or 20 grand, and I've never seen that before. And I kept selling too early, right? So I was trying to adapt to the market by holding them. And a lot of stocks that I was holding was marijuana stocks. And like Tim said, these stocks went crazy supernova, and then they crashed with no bounce. So my thought process was okay, I've made a lot of money swing trading, maybe $1 million. I started with 100K in my account with the swing trading account. Let's say I bought 10 stocks, all 10 grand. They all went up around 10x. Had $1 million in my account. So I was like, all right, let me put 50, 60, 70 grand in some of these and try to make, $500,000 in some of these. Just starting to get insane Kool-Aid, euphoria, whatever you want to call it. So I started buying stocks, and I just was going to hold them. But with the marijuana stocks, they all tanked. And at that point, the market it changed, right? And I knew that I was wrong, but they all tanked 50, 60, 70%. I was like, let me wait for a 50% bounce to sell into strength, into a bounce, because what I'm taught is that stocks, they go supernova, and then they crash, then they'll have a bounce, and then they have the long kiss goodnight. So unfortunately, with this situation these stocks just went like this. And it was almost a middle finger pattern, right? Where it's just straight up, straight down. And I got into these sticky situations where they all came back down to my entry. And I was like, okay, well, there should be a bounce. Maybe not this year, maybe next year, whatever it is. And I'll just end up selling my positions. So I was long all these stocks, and I knew that marijuana probably would go federally legal at some point, and there would be another run. But I just couldn't handle the pain anymore after a year and a half. And every day I would just draw down a little bit, draw down 5 or 10K, draw down 5 or 10K, draw down 5 or 10K. And it was after a year and a half, getting towards the end of 2022. So almost 2 years actually of holding these stocks. My account then went from $1 million to $200,000. And I just ate all of the losses towards the year. I just sold everything. Put orders in to just sell everything. Didn't even open up my computer that day, and I just saw my phone executing all these sales. And funny enough, all the stocks were like 0.0001, 0.003, whatever, like selling them for 99% losses. Even if I was in from a good price, say a cent or 2 cents, I was still losing 90% because everything just went straight down with no bounce. CBDL, right? A penny. It was a penny stock. My average was 0.007. Well, I was selling it at 0.001 and still losing 90%. And so I started with 100,000, made $1 million, and then lost it all on my swing trading account. And it's just a good lesson is when the show stops, when the market's over, everything just goes straight down because it was only up because of this euphoria type market. And now there's no reason for these penny stocks really to bounce. So ended up blowing it up. And before that, a couple days before, I had another 170K loss. So if you actually look at my profit lead chart, you'll see that was my biggest drawdown of $1 million. And we talked in the previous video about my other two drawdowns of 400,000 on MMNFF and with HKD. but this was my biggest drawdown. Still ended up making 100% on the account, I guess, over a couple years, but it was stupid at the end of the day, and I wish I just took all the profits and never really touched the marijuana OTC stocks again, because they're all worthless right now.
A lot of good lessons from this. Mind you, this is somebody who's made $12 million, still losing like nearly $1 million in an account due to swing trading. You really have to break down your strategy, your accounts, and separate them, right? Like, you made a lot when the market was hot on the swing trading, you didn't take the profits, all those profits evaporated. Swing trading can sometimes be very devastating if you don't lock it in. And a lot of you guys ask me like, okay, Tim, rule number 1 is cut losses quickly. What do I do if I'm just down so much? Should I just hold because, maybe it'll come back? And sometimes it does come back. And then people are like, I shouldn't have cut losses. It came back. But more times than not, it won't come back. And like we're talking about in these videos, it's not just about the money that you make or lose in trading. It's the education. So Jack learned a lot from shorting HKD too early. Now he remembers that lesson. He's not going to short an illiquid play too early again, hopefully, right?
Yes.
MMNFF, he's dip buying it, didn't bounce, lost 6 figures. Now he's not just going to dip buy randomly because he realizes some plays aren't going to bounce. Now he has lessons from his swing trading losses now too. If another mania happens, when another mania happens, he's going to remember, even if he takes some swings, he's going to remember all of these losses when he didn't take the profits. And you're going to carry that forward, I hope, right?
Yes, 100%. And that's also another good lesson. What Tim mentioned there that I want to get back to is diversifying your accounts and your strategies and having different accounts. And I saw this happen with a lot of traders. And unfortunately, people keep all of their money in one account. Even if you have 10,000, 30,000, 100,000, whatever it is, whatever stage you're at, maybe even a couple $1,000s, right? Whatever stage you're at, I always believe in diversifying your money through multiple accounts, because and just trading a certain strategy and learning different strategies in that account. So for me, I have multiple brokerage accounts. I now have different type of investments. And for me, it's always about diversifying money here, parking some money here, putting money in here to trade this strategy, whatever it is. And if anything would ever go wrong, let's say I kept all my money in my swing trading account and I had one account, and I went on emotional tilt and I kept adding all the way down, and then I ended up losing $3 or $4 million on these swing trades because I thought they have to bounce, and that emotional baggage of now looking at the stocks go down 40,000 per day. But it's always about starting small and building your strategy up, right? And all of my accounts that I have started have been relatively small. I've never started an account with more than $100,000, right? I'll start with 30,000, I'll start with 100,000, and I'll take singles and I'll build that account up with $3,000 trades, $10,000 trades, $20,000 trades. And as my account keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and then I keep sizing up. And then when it gets too big, then that's when you wire money out, put it in a different strategy, park it in your bank account, buy a house, whatever you want to do with that money, and make sure you're not at risk to lose everything in one trade. Because I saw traders who built an account from $30,000 to $200,000, getting too aggressive and then losing $200,000. But let's say they diversified their money. They put 50,000 in this account. They started a new account with 30,000, and then they put maybe 50 grand into the bank, and then maybe they invested 30 or 40,000 into bonds, whatever it is. Well diversified portfolios is what will keep you safe in the market, because anything can happen.
I like that, we're penny stock traders and we're talking about like diversification, but it's true, right? Like, I have multiple brokerage accounts. I have E-Trade, Interactive Brokers, and Trade Zero with different strategies. Like, there's different pluses and minuses. I know E-Trade is not available to some international students. I'm sorry, I don't make the rules. Interactive Brokers, the commissions suck for OTC plays, so I trade OTCs mainly with E-Trade. Trade Zero has shares to short of like some OTC junk like GTII. I shorted with Trade Zero. So you really have to start to get meticulous. It's not about one account. It's not about one strategy. And understand, we've been doing this for several years. We have millions of dollars in savings, so we can afford to spread stuff out. But even in the beginning, let's say, like you said, if you have, let's say, $20,000 to your name, you should still probably have 2 or 3 brokerage accounts. And some of you guys ask me, like, oh, I don't want to be under the PDT rule, so I need to keep it all under one account. I think the PDT rule is good. Even Jack, who's made $12 million, still does not open an account with what, more than 100,000? You've never opened an account with like $1 million?
Never.
And he could.
Never.
But he wants to prove that that strategy is working. He wants to prove that that broker is working. It's good to start small. Like if you think like, oh, Tim, I'll be your next millionaire student. I'll start with 500,000. All you have to do is double it. I've had people who think that it's easier to start big because it seems easier. But you really need to get on the exponential growth curve, and it helps if you have a small account and you learn how to grow a small account. What's the smallest account that you've recently started that you can grow? Just give it an example.
I haven't grown it yet, but my IRA that I just opened with 12 grand.
But I'm saying one that give them a successful example.
Yeah, okay.
In the past, I don't know, 2 or 3 years since you've had millions to work with, and like, did you open a brokerage account with 50 or 30,000 anywhere?
I just opened a brokerage account actually this year, a couple months ago, Success Trader. I opened them, and I could throw $1 million into it and be fine and start trading. But what I did was I just started with $100,000 because I don't know how the broker is going to be. I don't know what strategies. And I started a new strategy, which is shorting day one gappers with small size and looking for big fades doing that. And I started with 100 grand. It's now at 145,000 a couple months later, and I don't think I've experienced a loss more than like $2,000 or $3,000 with this broker. Yeah, I'm keeping my losses small. I know how to grow accounts, and I've grown my account now 45% within a couple months, being conservative. And they want me to put more money in the broker because they know I have more money. But I'm just gonna say I'm growing the account, right? And that's what it's about for me. And I started last year with an aggressive trading account, which I also started with 100 grand, Guardian trading, and I grew that up to 600 grand last year. Then blew it all up on HKD back down to $200,000, and that's how it goes sometimes, right? And I'm taking those lessons from that account that I traded before and making sure that I don't make the same mistakes with this new account that I opened. And let's talk about one more thing, which was I started with my E-Trade account with $20-something thousand.
Under the PDT rule.
Yes, right around the PDT rule. And I grew that account up to, I think, 160, 70, 80, 100,000, paid taxes, paid for some living expenses, wired some money out, and I was left with 60 to 70 grand. And at the start of in the middle of 2019, that's when I then diversified some money into Cobra trading, some money into E-Trade, started learning to short sell, also kept going long, and then I was able to slowly grow those accounts both over the next hot market and grow and grow and grow. And those are the accounts that I still use to this day, and have certain strategies that I trade in them.
And so I know this might be overwhelming. Many of you have like $2,000 to your name. You can't start multiple things. But we just want you thinking a little different. A lot of people, and especially newbies, they like to keep everything like very easy. Like, oh, if I have like 4 brokerage accounts, it's going to get confusing with paperwork. It's going to get confusing. Success can get confusing, but you have better odds of success if you actually start to utilize the strategies that we put in. If you just use newbie strategies where it's like all your money in E-Trade, you're over the PDT rule, you haven't really earned the right to trade freely, you're not gonna do well. I love putting accounts under the PDT rule because it puts like your back up against the wall. You can't trade that much. So how do you get over the PDT rule? You have to earn it. And having to earn your way out of the PDT rule, like I said this years ago, like PDT rule is like prison, right? Like you have to like learn how to break out of prison, not real life prison, but just financial prison. That way you learn how to actually do it. The fact is, if you start with, let's say 15,000 in an account and you learn with whatever strategy you use, the 15 into 30,000, you've learned how to double your account. You can then try to do that with any different account, and now you have like, call it like that strategy, like how to double your account kind of strategy. And I know most people lose, most traders lose. I'm not saying everyone's gonna double their account, but this is the way that you should think about it. Like, okay, I have one specific goal, get over the PDT rule. Not make $1 million with a small account. Just how do you get on the right track growing your accounts? Do you agree with this?
Yeah, 100%. What's your first step? My first step is I want to have my first win. I want to have my first green week. I want to have my first green month. I want to have my first $1,000 week. I want to have my first couple of months where I make money both months. I want to have my first $3,000 trade. I want to have my first 5,000, 10,000, 15, 20, 25, 30, 50, 100,000. I want to have my first $100,000 month, $100,000 week, $100,000 day. And it's just this, it slowly builds up over time. I didn't just wake up in 2017, 2018, 2019 and be like,
money,
coming down, right? It was this slow process of grinding every single day, putting in the work, learning something new, learning 10 things new, and doing that over and over and over and over again. And that's gotten to me to where I am today. That's gotten other successful traders where they are today as well. And I think a lot of people have a lot of misconceptions about really what trading is. And like Tim was saying, if you are a business owner and you're retired now and you're getting into stock trading and you're like, yeah, I can throw $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 in. Those are the people that you see lose $100,000, $200,000, $300,000. You don't need to start big. There is zero reason to start big. And there's a lot of people that want success overnight. I want success in my first 1, 2, 3 years. And I see a lot of people get impatient. It took me 20 months to have a nice green solid month. And then after that month, it just clicked for me. I don't know when that's going to be for you. I don't know if it's going to be 6, 12, 20, 25, 40, 50 months before you really understand it. All is about the work that you're putting in, the work that you're studying. There's two sides. You have your emotional side and you have your patterns, right? And I learned the patterns from Tim, and with the emotions, a lot of people helped me around my life. Tim helped me with emotions. My parents helped me with emotions, friends helped me with emotions, but mainly myself. And I had to tame all the demons that I had inside me, because trading is going to show you all your flaws, right? If you're an impatient person, you're going to have to learn how to fix that. If you are someone who gets emotional and irritable, you're going to have to learn how to tame those emotions. If you're someone that's lazy and you don't put in a lot of work, you're going to have to learn how to also put in work, because if you don't put in work, you're never going to make it in this game.
There's so many skills that you have to learn to be a successful trader, and then also to keep the money. There's a saying, a fool and his money are soon parted. We know a lot of traders who did very well in 2020, 2021, whether it was crypto or NFTs or stocks or anything, but they mainly lost a lot in 2022, or they even blew up because they didn't fully understand their emotions. They didn't fully understand risk management. I don't want you to be in a position where, let's say, like you get lucky. Let's say you make a lot of money, you ride one stock up perfectly, and then you have a lot of money, but you don't have the education to keep that money and then to build that, money. So like, there's multiple things here. If you, let's say, win the lotto, like, I don't know if you guys know this. I don't know if you know this. Like, most lotto winners go broke.
Yeah.
Because they got lucky once, but they don't have the education. They don't have the foundation off which they can build it, right? Sadly, it goes hand in hand. If you get lucky in crypto, if you get lucky in a stock, how can you then compound your gains? Both of us have done thousands of trades. We've learned tons of lessons from our wins, from our losses, from hot markets, from slow markets, from our early days, from everything. And we take that education with us on every trade, so that every trade we have slightly better odds of success because we're improving, we know our own strengths and weaknesses, and we actually have an edge over the many newbies who do not know what they're good and bad at, do not have experience, they don't study the past. If you compare like me and Jack, like, I'm not saying like we're the best traders. Like, we oftentimes exit way too soon, especially myself. Like, when he was talking about impatience, I'm like, me, right? We still have better odds because we've really looked at our process, and we've really gotten meticulous, and we've really gotten to the very nitty gritty. And that way we know ourselves, versus others where, you have a lot of people just buy a stock. They're like, oh, I like the name, or I like the ticker, or like, I heard it from a friend, and they're just like following their gut instinct. Zero risk management, zero planning, zero discipline. How do you think that's going to end? In a bull market, and in a mania, 2020, 2021, some of the dumbest people I know made the most money. And they're like, your way doesn't matter anymore. You're a boomer. You're obsolete. Then they lost most or all their money in 2022 or 2023. The market is not always efficient. Sometimes poor risk management will still be rewarded, but eventually it comes due. You cannot succeed, you cannot continue to grow your accounts without risk management, without discipline. You can't just rely on luck forever. If you got started in 2020, 2021, if you're watching this, I know some people are like, he's talking about me. Congratulations if you got started. Congratulations if you made some money. But that's just the beginning of your education. Jack lost 2,600 year one, but you don't see what he learned in year one. Your profit and loss does not define you. Your profit and loss, especially in the beginning, does not define how educated you are. It's only a consequence, right? His $12.2 million in profits now is a consequence of all the education, all the hard work, including how to get from negative 2,600 to green, growing different accounts with different strategies, with different patterns. And that's what you have to understand. Like, people don't want to hear this. People, this is a very psychological kind of video, and you and I love it because we know that this is true and this works and people need to hear it. Most people think that it's just about like, okay, where's support and resistance, which patterns, just give us hot stock picks. All this stuff is like mumbo jumbo. What do you say to that?
Yeah, so there's a few things that I want to cover. One thing that I was thinking about when Tim was talking was he said some people get very lucky in the lottery or one trade or whatever it is, and oftentimes they put all their money into something else right away, right? So let's say you buy a stock at a cent, goes up to 20 cents, you put 10 or 20 grand into it. It's very reasonable, and anyone can do this, right? And you make $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, whatever it is. Now you're going to be tempted, and I've seen so many people do this, put $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 all in on the next stock looking to make a couple $1 million. And the odds that you pick the single biggest winner 2 times in a row are 0.00001%. It's very unlikely, and that's why everyone goes broke. They're chasing this euphoric feeling. I want to do it again, right? I want to feel like the man again. I want to hit this stock perfectly again. And that's why everybody loses all their money. That's why lottery earners go broke. They want to feel, they spend all their money, they want to feel that same feeling that they felt when winning the lottery. I'm sure it's probably a crazy feeling. Like, I felt really good sometimes when I've made maybe 5-10% of my net worth in one day, but I've never made multiple hundreds of percent of my net worth increase in a couple days or a couple hours. Never felt that, right?
People like to chase the impossible or improbable. You want to feel like stats don't apply to me, like I'm special, I'm lucky. That's why Vegas works, right? Like, you win a little bit and you're like, I can do this. But you can't sustain success with low odds setups. Like, you can't rely on luck, okay?
Nope.
If you try and rely on luck for your success, you're just going to fail. We have found what patterns offer us good odds in our favor. We don't always win, we lose sometimes, and whether the pattern is there or not, like sometimes it gets mental and we bring losses upon ourselves, like BBAI for me, totally unnecessary losses. But again, we're going with specific odds. And this isn't an exact science. I don't know the exact odds, but I do know the patterns. And more times than not, I can win on the right patterns versus like the lotto winning, or like, if you go to like the horse track and you're always betting on the 50-1 horse. Every now and then a 50-1 horse will win. Like, this is a number 16 seed that won over a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. It does happen, but this has only happened twice in several decades. So you can't always rely on the 16 seed beating the 1 seed. You can't always rely on the crypto going parabolic or the penny stock going parabolic. You will not succeed if you keep chasing low odds setups. You might feel a little euphoria. You might get the adrenaline rush, which is sadly what a lot of degenerate gamblers crave. But I think that you need to get away from that, and you need to learn, let me focus on high odds setups. Do you agree?
Locking in gains, right? Fairleigh Dickinson didn't say, you know what, we just crushed number 1 seed. Let's do it again tomorrow. Let's do it again the day after that, and keep doing it because we want to have that feeling again. It's about locking in gains and taking those singles, right?
Yeah.
And that gets into this next lesson of that's what builds accounts. That's what builds consistency. That's what builds knowledge, right? Locking in those gains and growing yourself slowly and consistently over time.
Let's go to the next video. Click some links below. Everyone congratulate Jack and thank him for being so transparent. A lot of people are not fully transparent in this industry. Wins and losses, a lot of people think, oh, it's so easy. He really shows, the details. So click some links below. We're going to get to the next video right now.